Things just took a shocking turn for Winnipeg Jets fans. By now, it should be no secret that the star winger on the Winnipeg Jets, Kyle Connor, is due for a new contract at the end of the season, and an insider has just provided a new update regarding the status of the negotiation process for the pending unrestricted free agent. So today, we're going to delve into this. We're going to talk all about Kyle Connor, where we're at in the negotiation process, and what the Winnipeg Jets could and should do in this process. But before we do hop into the video here, it looks like about 80% of people watching the videos here on Jets Digest have not subscribed to the channel. I'd highly suggest you guys throw us a subscription. We're talking Jets all throughout the offseason, and we are getting closer day by day to the next season. So more news will be coming down the pipe, so make sure you're subscribed and you won't miss a beat. So now, let's hop into the video. Let's talk about what is the new update that came out regarding Kyle Connor. Well, first of all, there were a number of articles that came out, like I mentioned, about the process for extending Kyle Connor. There were, different articles from many different places. As you can see on the screen, we're just kind of flashing them up. But the biggest thing is that all of this kind of stems from Frank Seravalli on the Bleacher Report. He had an update in regards to Kyle Connor, and honestly, Frank Seravalli has been providing the most amount of news when it comes to this process. All the things that we've seen about the negotiation process has come out from Frank, so I would hope that he is a trusted source on this. But we can take a look at exactly what he said just the other day on the Bleacher Report. Here is his quote. He said, in regards to Kyle Connor, I don't think they've had much by way of extension talks. My understanding is that the Connor camp is not in very much of a rush to get something done, and that they want to evaluate their options. Now, that may be a little bit concerning, especially for a team like the Winnipeg Jets, who just lost a player to free agency, a top 6 winger. Of course, we're talking about Nikolai Ehlers this past offseason, and if we lose Kyle Connor too for nothing, things could be very, very bad. The window could shut very, very quickly and very hard on the Winnipeg Jets. Now, what should the Winnipeg Jets do in this situation? We're going to talk all about that, but before we do that, I also want to just mention the other information from Frank Seravalli that he's mentioned in regards to Kyle Connor. He also mentioned previously that the contract for Kyle Connor will likely be somewhere in between $11 and $12 million, and that obviously it's a huge priority for the Winnipeg Jets to get this done. I previously made a video where I talked about this number, if the Jets should commit to him, if this is the number. You can go check that out if you are interested in, that type of content where we delve into, is Kyle Connor worth it for that amount, and what could the Winnipeg Jets do? But regardless, we're talking today about this new update where Frank Seravalli says that there is not really any sort of negotiation. Nothing has really progressed all that much this offseason, which of course could, ring some alarm bells for Winnipeg Jets fans. It definitely does for me, but it may not all be bad. Another thing that Frank mentioned in this Bleacher Report in regards to Kyle Connor, he kind of just threw this out here. He said, a lot of people have been wondering if Kyle Connor does decide to go to market next summer, would the Red Wings be a fit? I could certainly see that, but don't count out the Jets. Now, in regards to this, I'll be honest with you, I think that this is just a speculative kind of comment that Frank Seravalli had. It makes a lot of sense. Kyle Connor is a Michigan native, and it totally makes sense that he would potentially want to go home and play for the Red Wings. Although, where I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense is kind of where the Red Wings are at, where Kyle Connor is at in his career. I would imagine this is a guy who wants to chase a cup, especially having been so close in 2018. This past year, things looked very promising for the Jets, and of course, it was disappointing seeing them lose and exit in the second round. So my opinion is, I don't know if this is a great, I think that Frank Seravalli is just kind of doing the speculative thing of saying, hey, maybe he goes to his hometown place. But let's take it at face value. Let's talk about this itself. And let's take a look at the Red Wings as a potential trade partner with Kyle Connor. Because here's the thing. If Kyle Connor does not want to sign with the Winnipeg Jets, even if he doesn't want to commit right away, like if he wants to, play out the season or whatever it is, the Winnipeg Jets absolutely cannot afford to lose Kyle Connor for nothing. So they would have to go ahead and look for a trade partner for him. And here's the thing. This is where I actually think this might be some good news for the Jets. If Kyle Connor kind of forces your hand into trading him, you can set up the next 10 years of Winnipeg Jets hockey with one trade right here. And, in my previous video, I even kind of pointed to the Jonathan Huberdeau trade that the Florida Panthers did. Jonathan Huberdeau was 29. Kyle Connor is also 29. Came off a great season where he was getting Hart Trophy votes. And, what did the Florida Panthers do? He was due for a new contract. He said he wanted $10.5 to $11 million. And the Panthers said, we don't think that you're worth that amount of money, and we're going to potentially trade you. So what did they do? They saw there was a distressed asset in Matthew Tkachuk in Calgary, and they traded Jonathan Huberdeau along with Mackenzie Weegar, a solid top pair defenseman, to get a solid young player who is just getting better and better. And what were they rewarded with? 2 cups this past season. So very clearly there is, precedent for, having an aging player. Well, Kyle Connor's not aging, but this next contract would probably take him until the end of his career. So maybe this might be a good opportunity to set up the next however many years of Winnipeg Jets hockey and trade a guy like Kyle Connor. I know it's scary. I know it's sad. It sucks, but it's better to the alternative of losing him for nothing. And let's take a delve into the Detroit Red Wings, just, since that's a topic, because realistically, the best return that the Winnipeg Jets could get on a Kyle Connor contract or on a Kyle Connor trade would be with a team that he has potential to sign with. It would likely be a sign and trade. Otherwise, I still think the Jets could get a lot for Kyle Connor, if he was just going as a pure rental. But obviously, you'd be wanting to maximize value, and you'd be wanting to find a place where he'd be happy to sign with long term. And it makes sense that Michigan, that Detroit would be a place where he would want to go. So one player who really interests me on the Detroit Red Wings as a potential trade partner is Marco Kasper. He is a young player. He is 21 years old this year. This past season was his first year in the NHL. He's a former first-round pick, and he played his first season with the Red Wings here. He had 77 games played, 19 goals, 18 assists for 37 points. But the big thing here is that this guy is a centerman. And what have we been clamoring for? What have we been screaming for here in Winnipeg forever is a guy who can play 2C. And this guy, in his first year in the league, joined the Red Wings and was able to play a second-line center role. He was able to be good defensively. He was good offensively. He scored points. So this is a guy who I think has a lot of potential and could reach that potential with maybe another team. And we know that the Detroit Red Wings are kind of in this weird area where with the types of moves they've made, signing guys like Andrew Kopp, signing guys like Mason Appleton, Ben Sherratt, they clearly are trying to take a step now and try to win while they have a guy like Dylan Larkin at the helm. So trading for a guy like Kyle Connor and extending him and getting him for his, remaining years makes a lot of sense for them, at least in regards to how we kind of see their outlook on their team. And a guy like Marco Kasper could find himself being expendable. There's also, of course, a player like Nate Danielson that could potentially make Kasper expendable. I think they kind of project to be around the same, second line center kind of guy. Although I think Danielson is a bigger guy and also better defensively. So maybe the Red Wings, if they think that he is the right guy they want to have, they could make Kasper a bit more available and expendable. You can look at a guy like Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who's a defenseman, although I wouldn't be wanting to necessarily go and get a defenseman as the headlining part of a deal for Kyle Connor, since the Winnipeg Jets already have a massive backlog in their defensive system. And further to that point, like it just doesn't really make sense in regards to trying to make this next window or trying to extend the window that we have with Connor Hellebuyck and Mark Scheifele. I don't know. I think we need more offense is the big key thing with the Winnipeg Jets right now. So there's a lot of interesting prospects in the Red Wing system, but for my money, Marco Kasper is exactly the type of guy who the Winnipeg Jets could, grab, bet on, and be able to, get the best years of his career, as he's turning 21 this year. He'll be 22. He's still on an entry-level contract, so that is great as far as the cap goes. Gives you a lot more wiggle room with, signing other players. Maybe you take a run at one of the bigger guys this next offseason. There's players like Kaprizov, Connor McDavid. I doubt they'd be able to get McDavid, obviously, but the point is there's going to be a lot of free agents this next year, and, if you trade away a guy like Kyle Connor, you could set up the next window for when, Perfetti, Sandberg, Lambert, all these guys who we expect to be good for the Winnipeg Jets, and maybe, bolster that and try to make sure that you can also capitalize on the ending years of Hellebuyck and Scheifele's window. So while it may seem like doom and gloom that Kyle Connor might not re-sign with the Winnipeg Jets, if anything, giving a sign to the Winnipeg Jets that he's maybe not that interested in re-signing earlier on gives Chevy the needed push to go out and make a deal and help the Winnipeg Jets for the future of their team. What worries me is that the Winnipeg Jets will see themselves as still in this kind of cup window. We'll go into the season with him unsigned. We'll get to the trade deadline going, hey, we're in a playoff spot, so let's try and go for it, and then lose him for nothing. And then at that point, the window is over. So regardless of all of this, let me know what you think. Do you think that Kyle Connor will stay with the Winnipeg Jets? Do you think he's going to re-sign? Do you think the Jets should trade him? Who should they target in a trade for Kyle Connor? Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like on the video and have yourself a great day. And, I'll be here on Jets Digest breaking it all down. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.